Guys, we're back with the notes for 3.7. Today we're going to be checking whether or not a point is a solution. We can do that with an equation and we can do that with a graph. I'm going to show you how to do both kinds. Okay, first of all, you'll notice that the calculator's on the side of your screen. You are going to need a calculator, but if you would, go ahead and pause the video, copy everything on this page, and when you're ready, press play, we'll get started. Perfect, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're going to start with problem 1. First thing I need to know is that in a point, in a coordinate, I have two values. I have the x first and the y second. So I'm going to be plugging my x number in where I see the x. So let's do that first. I'm going to put a positive 1 in where the x was. And I'm going to be putting the y in where the y is. So my y number is a negative 1. Okay, let's do all the plug-ins first, and then we'll talk about it with a calculator. Okay, all right, so on problem 2, my x is going to go in where the x is. That's over here. Notice that my variables are switched around this time. The x is going next to the 3. My y number is going to come over here next to the 4 because that's where the y is. So I'm going to put a 3 next to the 4. Also notice that every time I plug them in, I'm putting them in parentheses. Okay. All right, problem number 3. We're going to take the x, plug it in where the x is. We're going to take the y number negative 1 and plug it in where the y is, next to the 5. Moving on to number 4, we're going to plug the x in, the 0 where the x is, so 0 right here. And I'm going to grab my y number, plug him in next to the 5. Negative 2 is getting plugged in parentheses next to the 5. Okay, I'm going to scroll up just a little bit so we can see the bottom. Okay, let's do the x. Plugging 6 in next to the 2. 6 is my x. Negative 7 is my y, so I put the negative 7 in next to the 3. Problem 6, my 3 is the x. I'm putting a 3 in next to the 5. And I'm putting my y, the negative 1, in next to my negative 2. Okay, ones on the bottom are a little bit different. I know that the y's are alone. Okay, like I get that. You don't really need to have them in parentheses. If you want to plug this in and just say 7 is greater than, I'm fine with that. If you want to just have the habit that every single time you're using parentheses, that's fine too. Okay. All right, I'm going to put my x in over here next to the 1/2. So my x is the 8. It's really important that you don't put the numbers in order. You put them in where their letter is, okay? So like on problem 8, my x is not the first part of my problem. My x is next to the 3. So my x is where I put the 6, okay? My y is 13, so I put my y out front. Again, you can put it in parentheses. You do not need it if it is alone over here by itself, okay? All right, last one. I'm going to plug my x in. My x is next to the 6. I'm putting in my 2, and then my y is a 13. I'm putting him at the beginning where my y is. All right. I'm going to zoom out, take a second, pause the video, copy anything you missed, and then we'll start talking about the calculator. Wonderful. All right, let's zoom back in. Let's talk about the first 3 problems. Okay, or the first 4 problems. On the first 4, all of these are equal signs. So we're going to go into our scratch pad over here on my calculator, basic screen, and we're just going to type the whole thing in all the way across. All right, so I'm going 3 parentheses 1, move my mouse, plus 2 parentheses negative 1 equals a negative 1. Just type the whole thing in. When you press enter, that calculator is going to tell you whether or not that point is on that line, that equation. Okay? If it says false, then we say no, it's not a solution. If I type it in and it says true, then that is a solution. So let's try number 2. We're plugging in 4 parentheses 3 minus 3 parentheses 2. The equal button, if you don't see where I'm hitting over here under the yellow button. So equals 6. Go ahead and type that in. Press enter and you get true. This point is a solution. Okay, problem number 2, the point 2, 3, yes, it is a solution. Okay, I'm going to ask you to pause the video for just a second. Will you guys try 3 and 4, and then I'll put the answers up here and check them. No, like for serious, you pause it, you try it, and you see if you're getting the right answer. Good, hopefully you got not a solution for number 3. And yes, a solution for the second one. Okay, so no, not a solution. And yes, the next one is a solution. Okay, if you put yes or no, I'm fine with that. Also, that's what the directions is saying. I just wanted you to see what we're talking about. Okay. All right, let's scroll to the bottom 5 so you can see that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put a gray highlight over all of these symbols. These are not equal signs. Okay, these are inequality signs. So to get to an inequality on your calculator, you're going to use Control and the equal button. So watch my screen, Control, equal, and it pops up your options right here. You would just choose the one you want when you're ready for it. Okay, so if I'm typing in problem, was this number 5? Problem number 5, type it in the same way, 2 parentheses 6 plus 3 parentheses negative 7. But when I get ready to make my greater than, I hit Control equals, choose the greater than, and then type negative 11 and press enter. It's going to tell you true or false. Either that problem is a solution, or that point is a solution, or he's not. In this case, we have a true, so he is a solution. Okay. Let's try number 6. Typing in 5 parentheses 3 minus 2 parentheses negative 1. I need to make a less than or equal to, so Control enter. Less than or equal to my 9. When I press enter, it tells me false because that point is not a solution. He is not on that graph. All right, I'm going to have you pause the video for just a second. I want you guys to try the last 3 questions. So you're trying 7, 8, and 9. Pause the video and go ahead and try. All right, hopefully on that next one you got not a solution. If you just put no, again, I'm fine with that. Hopefully you're trying that next one at this point. And he is yes a solution. Notice that when I'm making the fractions, I'm using Control Divide. If you use the toolbox, that is fine too. But this last one is no, he is not a solution. So you can say not solution, or you can just say no. If it's a yes, you can say yes, or you can say it is a solution. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. If you missed anything on this page, will you go ahead and copy that? Otherwise, we're going to flip to the next side. Perfect. All right, the back page is a little bit easier. I want you to write this on the top of your paper. You are going to know if your point is a solution, if it is on a solid line, no dashes, a solid line, or if it's in the shaded area. Okay, so here's how I remember this. Say solution starts with an S, solid starts with an S, shaded starts with an S. So a solution has to be in the solid or the shaded, okay? All right, so the easiest way to look at these problems to start with is to go ahead and graph all the dots first, okay? So I'm going to start by doing that. On problem 1, to graph 4, 1, we need to go to the right 4 and up 1. Let's do it this way. That point is right here. To graph 5, -2, we're going to go to the right 5 and down 2. Go ahead and graph those 2 dots. Okay, which one of those is a solution based on the definition we wrote up here? Good, hopefully you said number 2. Number 2 is a solution because he is in the shaded. Why is problem 1 no? Why is he not a solution? Hopefully you're saying something about he's in the white space. He's not in the shaded. He's in the white area. Okay? Let's try the middle two. Okay, if I'm going to graph 0, 5, that means I'm going up 5 on the y-axis. If I'm going to graph negative 5, 0, that is left 5. That's on the x-axis. Okay, both of these are on lines. So who's a solution? Okay, problem 3. This one is a solution. He is on the he is on a solid line. Not just saying there's a solid line on the problem, but he's actually on the solid line on the graph. Okay, that makes him a solution. Problem 4 is on the line, but he is not a solution because that line is dashed. Doesn't matter that he's on the edge of the shaded. He's actually sitting on the dashed line. That's a no-go. Okay. Last problem, problems 5 and 6. We're going to graph the point negative 2, 2 is going left 2, up 2. Problem 6 is 0, negative 4. That's going down 4 on the y-axis. All right, so last one. Problem number 5. That one is a solution. He is in the shaded. Problem number 6 is not a solution. He is not. Even though there's shading on that graph, he is not a solution. He's on that dashed line, and that's a no-go. Okay? So to be a solution, you must be in the shaded or on a solid line. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, come see me.